So are those type of projects that you run into, and then you can, kind of do an audit against it and see, well, what are you lacking? You haven't thought of this, or have you tried implementing X, Y, and Z, and then provide some kind of a, feedback to them?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. What we even go like sort of one step back in the value chain, where we say, okay, going back to that stat from earlier, that 95% of AI implementation projects failed to return an ROI. Now, I tend to think that that's kind of an unfair way of saying that this early on, right? How long have they had to test it? 30 days, 60
Yeah.
days? They're still
When
tweaking
did
it. They've
AI
got to
come out? Yeah.
find its niche, right? But to really go one step back into the AI transformation audit, and that allows us to identify, okay, the client may come to us and say, I want an agent for X. And we say, and early on, we would say, great, we'll build you agent X for Y dollars. And then we
Yeah.
would just hand it off, and it would inevitably fail, right? Because they didn't quite understand what they were trying to accomplish. Maybe their own internal manual process was broken, and so they're like, well, if I throw AI at it, then
Hmm.
it'll unbreak, which is
Right. Magically.
not the case, right?
Yeah.
And then it allows us to go back and say, okay, well, you say you have this problem. I'll tell you an example. We work with a law firm, and they came to us and said, we have this problem where we get these calls and they don't get logged, and then they're manually transferred to a different system, and we don't know what to do with them. Can you build an AI agent that scrapes the call logs and then cross matches it with blah, blah, blah? And I said, sure, we can, but you don't have a technical problem. You have a cultural problem. There's something in your system of transferring leads from coming in to converting. That system is broken, and all the AI in the world is just going to make it faster broken.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be faster broken. I love that terminology, and you hit it right on the nail. Where it's the problem is not going to be solved by a tool that you just saw online or you saw some kid, wielding it around. You don't walk into Home Depot and say like, "I need a hammer." Why? Well, I'm building a house. Well, that's the wrong tool for it, right? Same thing. It's like
Yeah.
you don't need this AI. Let's figure out what the problem is. And if you keep asking them why, like a kid, you usually get to the root cause. And ultimately,
Yes.
it's like because these two things aren't working together, so we don't have increased revenue. Well, that's like three steps removed from
Yeah.
not tracking
Yeah.
your calls properly, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're getting at. That's
Yeah.
exactly
And
right.
then there's also an aspect of that of the technical detail required to get the data that you're looking for, right? So another attorney, we work with a lot of attorneys, we're building out a platform, but part of the project would have to require integration into third-party CRMs to be able to send data back and forth. And I'm like, do you understand how hard it is to integrate a single API point? Now you're trying to go to people you don't work with who have different security concerns, who have different tech stacks, and you're trying to then connect their data to yours. You got to take a step back and figure out if there's a centralized, some other way to go about this. But it is a too big of a project for you to bite off. And unfortunately, they went with a different provider who probably told them that, yeah, we can absolutely do that, no problem.
Sure.
And I've been in contact with them, and I'm like, hey, I wish you the best of luck. But
I know
I think that,
it becomes a headache because yes, it might sound cool because it's a novel problem to solve,
mhm,
or maybe the pay is really good, or you have a good relationship with this person, you just don't want to say no, right? Because
yeah,
you've worked with them before. But then when you get into that, and especially if it's like an hourly type arrangement where it's like, okay, we'll do 40 hours at a time, we'll take it a
yeah,
week long at a time, and then the weeks start adding up, and then you're not delivering, and they're unsatisfied, and
they get
there's no product to
frustrated,
actually
you get
speak of,
frustrated,
and
yeah,
then it blows up. It hurts your reputation. It impacts their revenue. It's a bad situation. So I like your model where it's like hold your horses. Let's get back a little bit. Let's do a deep dive analysis of your entire process and what are
yeah.
your company goals. Are we actually
Mhm.
achieving them? And then deep dive into where the root cause is, and then let's address those particular issues.
Yeah. And some positive that came out of that conversation where I said, you know what, we're declining to do this project because it's not the right thing to do. We could tell you and sure close the deal, fine. But I was like, this is not the right thing. But during that call, we discovered another person in that department who had a different problem that was absolutely solvable with AI in a big way, and we ended up doing like a $35,000 project for that part of it, right?
Beautiful.
So they win, we won, everyone was happy. And that's what we want to get to is like let's sit down and talk about this for a while.